Hi again. Kenneth Scott Latourette, History of Christianity, page 397, The Slow Completion of the Conversion of Northwestern Europe. The remarkable spread of Christianity in the 100 years after 950 brought into nominal adherence to the faith most of the major peoples of Western Europe, who had thus far been outside its fold. The one important exception was the Moors in the Iberian Peninsula, and these, as we have seen, were dwindling. Yet in 1050, by no means all those who dwelt in Western and Central Europe thought of themselves as Christians. In addition to the Muslims in the Iberian Peninsula and Sicily, and the Jews, a small and widely scattered minority, there were still, frankly, pagan enclaves. They were principally along the southern and eastern shores of the Baltic. Chief among them were the Slavs, north and east of the Elbe, Wends the Germans called them, the Pomeranians, the Lithuanians, the Prussians, the Estonians, or Ests, the Letts, the Finns, and in the extreme north, the Lapps. After the middle of the 11th century, the geographic advance of Christianity in Western and Central Europe continued, but at a much less marked pace. As we have repeatedly reminded ourselves, the effect of nominal conversion upon the majority of the peoples who had been won in the preceding 100 years was slight, and the deepening of the faith through instruction, the recruiting and training of clergy, the development of dioceses and parishes, and the administration of the Church's sacraments was slow. In some lands, notably in Poland and Hungary, the first wave of conversion, associated as it was with vigorous and sometimes violent and ruthless expansion of the royal power, was followed by a pagan revival. Recovery always came, but it might be retarded. By the year 1350, conversion had been accomplished in all Western and Central Europe except for the Lithuanians, the Finns, the Jews, and the Muslim remnants in Spain. Beginnings had been made in all these, and before long the Lithuanian pagan majority was to accept baptism. Efforts for the conversion of the Wends commenced in a large way in the first half of the 10th century. Divided into many tribes, the Wends then occupied most of the later Germany east and north of the Elbe. The German rulers attempted to extend their control over them and their territories. This led to chronic warfare, which was often waged with savage cruelty. Since the Germans professed to be Christians, both they and the Wends regarded baptism as a symbol of submission to German authority, and the issue was compounded by racial bitterness. Otto I extended his domains, somewhat superficially, eastward to the Oder. He sought the conversion of his newly acquired Wend subjects. To this end, he founded 2 bishoprics in Wendland and placed them under the Archbishopric of Magdeburg, inaugurated for this very purpose, on the left bank of the Elbe, looking across the river into Wend territory. After death had removed his strong hand, the Wends revolted and directed part of their spleen against the bishops, symbols as they were of German rule. German authority was later restored, but when it declined, the Wends once more rose. Again and again, the cycle was repeated. Some of the Wends were baptized, but the territory which had been theirs became solidly committed to Christianity only through the immigration of Germans, a process which required centuries. The conversion of the Pomeranians, a Slavic people on the Baltic with their capital at Stettin, was accomplished during the 12th and the forepart of the 13th century. In it, Poles, Danes, and Germans had a part, but Germans were the chief agents. In the first quarter of the 12th century, a king of Poland invaded the region, captured some of the cities, and as a price of peace required the populace to pay him tribute and to accept baptism. His chief emissary for inducing the Pomeranians to fulfill their promise to be baptized was a German, Bishop Otto of Bamberg. Otto was an organizer, a man of affairs who had been Chancellor of the Holy Roman Empire. At this time, probably in his 60s, he had the fearlessness and energy of youth. Twice he journeyed into Pomerania, both times in the 1120s, taking with him a band of assistants. He went unarmed, but with impressive pomp, with the endorsements of the Pope, and the second time with the authority of the German king. Under him, numbers were baptized, but Not until the close of the century do there seem to have been many Pomeranian priests. German and Danish monastic communities and the German farmers whom they encouraged to come to fill their lands did much to complete the assimilation of the Pomeranians to the Christian faith. Next time, the gospel goes to Finland and the Baltic states. I'll put in a link to an earlier video in the Latourette series. Rome falls, but barbarians spread Christianity despite the gains that Islam was making in so-called Christian lands. See you next time.